Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And normally on the show, well, not normally, there's nothing normal about this show if you've listened before. We usually talk a lot about food and biochemistry and neurophysiology, but I'm going to talk about something that is affecting everybody listening right now, and that's about Wi-Fi signals. Now, I know this is kind of a little different than what we normally cover, but we're all being bombarded by Wi-Fi signals. And we either have it in our home, we have cell phones, and just driving around. I mean, unless you're out in the woods somewhere where you can't pick up a cell phone signal, you're getting hit with these things. And it was interesting because a couple of years ago, I did a study actually with a young girl. She was a fourth grade. Anyway, she came to me and said, Dr. Joe, I need a science project to do. And I said, let's do this. I want to show how microwave ovens affect even water. Now, there was some controversy over this. Some people were arguing back and forth. And I'll tell you the results, and the results are very clear. We took two plants, identical plants. We went to a garden store and bought some lettuce leaves and cut the little 6-pack in half. And half of them we watered with plain old tap water. We boiled the water, cooled it down, and watered the plants. The other ones, we microwaved the water till it was boiling, cooled it down, and watered the plants. And within a very short period of time, maybe 2-3 weeks, you can actually see the difference. Exact same conditions, exact same pots they were in, same amount of sunlight. You saw a difference in the ones that were being watered by the microwave water. Now, some people say, well, water is water, you can't change water. Well, that's not necessarily true. You can change the way things spin molecularly, if that's a word. And so we saw a definite difference between the plants that were watered with plain old tap water versus microwaved water. So it was interesting when I came across this study, and I thought, this is good stuff for a radio show. Now, if you're going to do a study, usually universities spend millions of dollars, they run research projects, but this was done by a handful of school kids without really any budget at all. It started with 5 ninth grade girls in, let's see if I can get this right, Jalaperup, maybe, school. It's in Denmark. And they noticed that they felt crummy and couldn't concentrate after they slept with their cell phones. So I'm going to make a blanket statement right here, and then we're going to dig a little deeper. Do not, under any circumstances, sleep with your cell phone, your Wi-Fi computer. At the absolute minimum, put it on the floor. I'd prefer you get it as far away from you as possible. Out of the room would be ideal, because I'm going to tell you what happened with these gals. They couldn't concentrate after sleep with their cell phones, and so they said, what do we do? So their observation, this gave the girls an idea for a science project, kind of like with the water in the microwave, microwaving water. They decided to check just what cell phones did to the human brain that caused the disorganization. But then they realized, well, that's a really expensive, drawn-out process. So they did something a little more creative and a lot less expensive. Turns out that if they filled 12 trays with seeds, they were just an edible herb, kind of related to watercress, not important what it was. Half of the trays were put in a room containing no electronic devices. The other half got plunked down next to 2 Wi-Fi routers in another room. The girls calculated that the routers emit the same amount of electromagnetic energy as a cell phone, and you have something called a Gauss meter, and you can actually measure how much electromagnetic energy something is putting out. Now, I've seen the Gauss meters that you can get as a free app even on your phone. And you can measure how much electromagnetic frequency is in a room. Now, why is that even important? Because some people have trouble sleeping, and they may have their bed too close to the wires in the wall. Now, some people are more sensitive than others. So it may not be affecting you as much. But I remember I had this a while ago. I had my Gauss meter. I went around my bedroom, and as soon as I went near my clock radio, boy, it was going crazy. The Gauss meter measures electromagnetic frequency, was going nuts. And then as I put it along the wall, it was kind of cool. I just drag it along the wall, nothing. All of a sudden, the meter would jump. That's where the wires were in the wall. So some people are more sensitive than others, so you may be having problems just because your head is too close to wires in your house. Now, what do you do? Well, move your bed. It's pretty simple. The nice part is that this electromagnetic frequency, unless it's on a Wi-Fi, the further you move away from it, the lower it's going to have an effect on you. Students observed that they observed the plants for 12 days. At the end, the results, according to this study, were dramatic. The plants in the non-electromagnetic frequency room had prospered. The ones they situated next to the routers didn't grow, and actually they all died. It's a pretty interesting study. Could you argue to that point? Well, maybe it was some other circumstance. Could be. But this study has been done many, many times since then, and every time it comes up the same. So you might be having a reaction to something as silly as your cell phone. Now, I do this a lot with my patients. If you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. My background is I'm board certified in chiropractic. I'm board certified in non-surgical orthopedics, double board certified in nutrition, board certified in pain management, BS in clinical nutrition. I'm a retired dietitian, award-winning author. And my radio show, of course, is heard all over the world. And I've been in practice now, actively practicing every single day for 32 years. So there's not a lot of things I haven't seen. So a lot of times patients come to us, and I have to dig a little deeper than the average bear would to find out what's going on. And one of the things I find consistently is when patients come in and say, Doc, I've got hip pain, or I've got groin pain. Many of those cases, they have their cell phone in the pocket where they're talking about. I have women come in, and they'll come in and they'll say, I've got shoulder pain, and it's kind of radiating into my chest. And when I do a little investigative work, I find that they put their cell phone in their bra when they walk around the house or walk around. And so where the cell phone is, many times is related to the pain. Not always. I mean, I'm a chiropractor. Many times it's a pinched nerve. It's a muscle spasm. There could be damage to the muscle. But I see consistently that people carry cell phones in one area, oftentimes have an issue with that area. So just like wallets, I always tell my patients, gentlemen, if you have wallets in your back pocket, get a smaller wallet and put it in your front pocket, like I have right now. Because when you sit on the wallet, you're putting just a little pressure on one hip more than the other, and that can misalign the hips. And as a chiropractor, I want everything properly aligned, not misaligned. But now, in recent times, we have to deal with things like cell phones. So a cell phone can actually adversely affect your health, or a Wi-Fi router in this case. And it's interesting, when I do live lectures, if you've never been to my live lectures, folks, you got to come out. They're a lot of fun. Check my website, drjoeesposito.com, and many times we have free lectures. Check your area. We lecture all over the place. And even if you got to pay, it's a couple of bucks, folks. It's worth it. Come on out, because I can show you things I can't show you on the radio. And one of the things I do sometimes, if I'm in a particularly fun mood, I'll have somebody come up from the audience. And especially if I catch them on their cell phone, not paying attention. It's a good one, right, as a teacher. And I put their cell phone down, and I have them hold their arm out and push up against one of them, any muscle. I'll use their arm, their leg, whatever. The arm is convenient. And they get strong. And then I'll have them take their cell phone and just hold it. Usually I have it holding up against their chest. Instantly, every muscle in their body goes weak. 100% of the time, it never fails. I don't care if it's a bodybuilder, if it's a construction worker, if it's a little old lady, it's going to go weak. So we know that the electromagnetic frequencies has a bearing on how the body works. So about this one with the routers, just be careful. Now, this created a big media stir, this simple little test. Now, according to Kim Hazavad, I'll try that again, a science teacher who supervised the girls, this sparked quite a lively debate in Denmark regarding the potential adverse effects of mobile and Wi-Fi equipment. So the reason I'm telling you all this is I know you're not going to give up your cell phone. I get it. But I want you to carry it as far away from your body as possible. If you put it in your pocket, in your car, take it and put it on the seat next to you. Don't sit and drive with it. Don't put it next to your heart. Don't put it next to your body, really. And I'm going to talk about cell phones a little further in a second, and I'm going to tell you how to use your cell phone the right way. You're probably all doing it wrong, causing problems. All right, back to this experiment. Back in 2010, a parallel study in Denmark also found that plants suffered after exposure to EMF radiation. After noticing a dramatic spike in the number of trees in Denmark suffering from radiation poisoning, about 70%, and normally it's about 10%, researchers exposed 20 ash trees to high levels of Wi-Fi activity. After 3 months, the trees showed signs of radiation sickness. Wow. So it's even affecting the trees. Early reports claimed that the trees had bled, grown nodules, became deformed, and even died. Later reports said the early investigation had been exaggerated and that the trees only showed signs of substantial leaf damage. So, I don't know. Only leaf damage is a pretty big thing to me. Obviously, it's having some biological effect on the tree. Wi-Fi radiation on plants and a few other studies, they really can't constitute a big weight of evidence as far as science goes. But when it comes to healthcare, I want you to do everything you can to be as conservative as possible to get the best results possible. And I know this because I've had patients take their cell phones out and they respond better to chiropractic care. They're responding okay. I get them away from their cell phones and they respond better. And I know this because I do it all the time in my practices. So it's important you understand that you may be doing things to adversely affect your health. Now, you got to remember, what triggered the girls' experiment in the first place? They felt crummy and couldn't concentrate after sleeping with their cell phones. Well, I like to think of it as, if I do this and it hurts, don't do this anymore. I had a patient call me the other day, and we did nutritional consultation over the phone because we like to see patients for chiropractic, but sometimes patients don't live in my area. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge in the Atlanta area. And so people from all over the world will call us or send us emails. And so I was doing a consultation over the phone, and the gal said, well, when she drinks milk, she gets diarrhea. So, of course, my advice was what? Don't drink milk. Okay, what about 1% milk? I said, does it give you diarrhea? She said, yes. I said, don't drink it. She says, how about low-fat milk? And then she started every time lactose-free milk, the ones that have the enzymes in it. I said, when you drink these, do they give you diarrhea? Yes. Well, then don't drink them. We as humans aren't designed to drink cow's milk, first of all. And if you're having an adverse reaction as big as that, she couldn't leave the house, it was so bad, maybe you should give up the milk. And I said, have you tried coconut milk? Yes. Do you like it? Yes. Does it give you diarrhea? No. Why don't you switch to coconut milk? And then she kept going back to the regular milk. And anyway, my point of this story is that sometimes it's so obvious. Well, don't drink the milk. Don't put the cell phone in the bed with you. If you're not sleeping well in your bed, move your bed to the center of the room and see if that helps. Simple things like this, maybe not something you'd think about, obvious, but simple, can have a dramatic effect on your healing. And it's interesting. We're exposed to at least 100 million times more radiation than our ancestors did, even just a few generations back, like my grandparents, maybe if you're young, your great-grandparents. Number of cell phones and cell towers are growing rapidly. You know that because they have those ugly things that supposed to look like trees. They're cell phone towers. They ain't fooling me. But it's affecting everything. The question is really this. How do we as a society, or as you as an individual, respond to these gaps in knowledge? Science can say, well, there's not enough evidence to prove that. I don't want to be the one having severe health issues and then dying or, not getting well. And then finally, 5 years from now, we say, yeah, we were right about that. Cell phones weren't good. Or we were wrong about that. Cell phones weren't good. Dr. Joe was right, though. Or if you live under power plant wires, you can increase your risk of cancer. I've seen a lot of studies about that. And so people that live near high wires, it can become an issue. Or a relay station for electricity, they can have some serious health issues. So if you're thinking about buying a house, you might want to consider where the house is, not just what the house is. And is it near, electrical wires? And if it is, you might want to consider going to the next neighborhood. So, Europe, 2011, report from the European Union Committee on the Environmental, Agriculture, Local and Regional Affairs, there's a big group, called for all wireless technologies, including cell phones, to be removed from schools. The statement read as follows. Waiting for high levels of scientific and clinical proof before taking action to prevent well-known risks can lead to very high health and economic costs, as was the case in asbestos, leaded petroleum, and tobacco. So here the European Union is saying we want to get these things out of the schools. I think it's a good idea. Number one, kids will be off their cell phone because they won't be on the cell phone as much. But number two, there is a risk there. Let's assume, my famous line, the famous Dr. Joe line, let's assume I'm wrong. So what? But if I'm right, which I am, then you said, wow, Dr. Joe was so progressive. He was so far ahead of the curve when it came to health care. I've been hearing that for 35 years now. Things you talked about 10 years ago are now mainstream. Hydrogenated oil. I talked about that years ago, how dangerous it is. No, it's fine. Number one cause of heart disease, hydrogenated oil. Guess what? I was right. I keep threatening to do this, and I got to do this. I have a folder. It's called Dr. Joe Was Right. And all the things I talked about years and years ago are now common knowledge. So I got to dig up that folder and do a show on that. It's kind of fun. So as a chiropractor, I'm concerned that it's affecting your electrical system. And my job is to make sure the messages are getting from your brain, down your spine, out to your nerves, and back up. They do that by electricity. They make electrical impulses. And so I want to fix you physically, I want to fix you chemically, and I want to fix you environmentally so that you can get well. So, folks, if you have a healthcare problem, maybe it's neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, whatever it is, I'd like for you to contact my office and set up a time to come see us. You can go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world, thanks to you, and you can set up a time to come see us. Now, we accept most major medical insurances, car accidents, sports injuries, Medicare. I just read an article 2 days ago how more and more doctors are dropping out of the Medicare and Medicaid system because it's just a nightmare, and it is. So we're trying to hold on as long as we can, taking Medicare. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you said, I've been putting this off too long, come see us. Car accidents, sports injuries, workers' comp injuries. I've never seen a car damaged where the occupants weren't, ever. So whether it was 2 years ago or 2 days ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you need to come see us. So go to my website, make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. You could do it online. You can give us a call, and we'll get that set up. So we're talking today about Wi-Fi and how it could be one of the reasons why you're not getting well. More than a dozen countries worldwide have restricted mobile phone use by children and dismantled Wi-Fi in schools, and they're returning more to wired connections. If you choose to protect yourself from this Wi-Fi radiation that's everywhere, as it increases in the environment, and not to wait for legislators to act, you're going to do yourself a big favor. What do I say about food? If you've listened to my shows before, when it comes to eating, because I used to be very fat, get the bad food out of the house. Because if it's in the house, you're going to use it. I want you to consider getting your electronics minimized or out of the house, because if they're there, chances are you're going to use them. But if you have trouble sleeping, take your cell phone, put it in the other room. Go 2 or 3 nights, see what happens. If you still have issues, move your bed to the center of the room. See what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So what? You had your cell phone in the other room for a couple of days. So what? But if it works, you'll say, wow, that's some pretty powerful stuff. You can get wired at your home instead of wireless. Of course, that's maybe not as practical as it sounds. Or at least keep your cell phone far away from you. And don't sit in front of a computer that's wireless all day. Because if it's on, it's attracting the wireless waves. So get off your Wi-Fis, get off your cell phones if you can. If the cell phone's on a Wi-Fi system, it's even worse because it's constantly, nonstop, 24 hours a day, sending and receiving messages to the Wi-Fi system. Now, it always is doing that anyway, but the Wi-Fi can be worse. So it's kind of interesting when you look at that. Because a lot of times patients come to me with these weird symptoms. And my team of doctors and I, we sit down, we discuss the patients, we go over their exam, we go over their x-rays, and we say, okay, something else is wrong. Based on their exam and x-rays, they shouldn't be having all these problems. That's when I go in and I say, let's look at their nutrition. What are they eating? Every patient that comes in, I want to do a nutritional evaluation on. What are these people eating? And a lot of times I'll look at it and I'll say, gosh, they eat a lot of sugar, and sugar raises your insulin level, and insulin levels means you're using up a lot of magnesium to make insulin, and magnesium relaxes your blood vessels, and that could be why you have high blood pressure. So we dig a lot deeper than most people because we want to get to the cause, not just treat the symptoms. High blood pressure a lot of times could be the stomach pushing up against the diaphragm. If your stomach is up against your diaphragm, you might have things like acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating. And something as simple as massaging or pulling the stomach away from the diaphragm could solve your problem. Wouldn't that be nice if the problem was that easy to fix? In many cases, it is. So you want to consider getting these things fixed before they get worse. So in my office, we dig deep. We look at what's going on. I've had patients already wearing bad shoes. And one shoe, the heel is worn out because the hips are crooked, causing the heels to wear out. Then we adjust them, but if they're still wearing the bad shoes, they're going to keep throwing the adjustment out. Got to put the bones back in place. So let's continue on with this whole Wi-Fi thing. This is kind of fascinating to me. And pediatricians' new warning, limit children's exposure to cell phones. There are now more cell phones in the United States than there are people. So how do we stay safe from them? And I talked about this topic a while ago, and I remember I had an IT guy at the time, and he said, "You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. There's absolutely no risk whatsoever." Well, guess what? Pediatricians are doing it. Scientists are doing it. European Union is doing it, saying there is a problem. So I was right. Put that in the Dr. Joe was right column. U.S. government agencies, including the FCC, says there's little to be concerned about. So here we go, the other side of the coin. People arguing with us. That's okay. I'll go with it. Recently, 190 independent scientists representing 39 countries, including the United States, appealed to global health organizations to strengthen cell phone guidelines and ensure the public to be fully informed about the potential health risks of electromagnetic energy. These scientists, who've collectively authored more than 2,000 papers on the topic, they're just adding to a group of experts and government agencies around the world who are saying, be careful. So what we got to do with our cell phones is this, folks. If you read the instructions, and probably none of you ever have, read the instructions on your cell phone, and it will clearly say, let me see, I even got a quote here from one of the companies. Here we are. A Samsung manual says, body-worn SAR testing has been carried out at a separation distance of 1.5 centimeters, or about a half inch. To meet radio frequency exposure guidelines during body-worn operation, the device should be positioned at least this distance from the body. What does that mean in English? It means you should hold your cell phone at least a half inch away from your body. So, that's good, but you're my patients, you're my listeners. How do we make it better? I want you to get a wired headset. Not a wireless, a wired headset. Plug it in and talk on the headset. I very seldom, if ever, answer my phone if I don't have my headset with me. And if I do, I hold the phone away from my ear and put it on speaker. Because when you're putting it next to your head, you're increasing the electromagnetic frequency. And with kids, it's even worse because kids are not little adults. Kids have thinner skulls. They're more susceptible to things like electromagnetic frequency. So what I need you to do is, I need you to make sure kids only use headsets. And if they're watching a movie or something, it's better to download it, put the phone in airplane mode, and then watch it. It's a much better choice because you're causing a lot of radiomagnetic frequency. And if the kid falls asleep with the phone in their bed or in their bedroom, I want you to go up to their room, take the phone, remove it from the bedroom. That's practical. I understand kids are going to use phones. I get it. But I want you as the adult to be responsible. And then for yourself, I want you to be responsible as well. Because we are just getting bombarded with steroids and hormones and chemicals and pesticides and electromagnetic frequencies and genetically modified foods. We are not the same health system that we had even before 1980 because of all the chemicals and additives and preservatives and cell phones. And so you really need to take notice of these things, and I want you to take the steps to obtain and maintain good health. So, folks, if you do have a healthcare problem, I want you to make an appointment to come see us. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. You can go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, with the number one Dr. Joe in the world, and set up a time to come see us. Let us check your nervous system. 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. You can have a pinched nerve and not know it. In fact, that's very common. So if you have a pinched nerve, you need to unpinch it. We need to get your digestive system working properly. If you're not eating the right foods, I want to get you eating the right foods. If you want to take supplements, I think everyone should take supplements. I take something called Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source every day. I have it sitting in front of me right here in the studio. I think you should be taking it too. It's the minimum amount of nutrients that you need to get your body functioning normally. So there are two powders, Super Greens and Essential Source. I take a scoop of each. I mix it with coconut milk or almond milk. You do hemp milk, whatever you like. I put it in a jar and shake it up. And the reason I shake it up is because it doesn't have a lot of additives and preservatives in it, so it doesn't mix as well as like a commercial cheesy powder. This is the all-natural stuff. Drink it at least once a day. I take it twice a day sometimes. If I'm going on a date, if I'm going hiking, if I got a couple of lectures to do, a few radio shows, interviews, I'll take it as a double dose. So that's available on my website too. But I think at least you should be doing that. And here's my challenge to you. Take it for a month. See what happens. I think you'll be thrilled. It's on the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Again, with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, and you should, that's on the website as well. If you have questions, you can always call the office. And we can answer questions about your insurance or timing or scheduling. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Folks, I got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. I want you to do something while I'm on the break. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. I am Dr. Joe Esposito, and last time we talked about cell phones and radiation and how that can cause severe health issues, and it's even being linked to things like cancer now as well. And I want to kind of continue on with that thought process. And it's interesting because we always knew, no, we didn't always know, but scientists have often discussed red meat being linked to cancer. And no one was ever quite sure why. Some of the things that came up were, well, if you cook the meat and you grill it, you create something called heterocyclic amines. Heterocyclic amines are that grill mark on your meat, and those are carcinogenic. And if you're barbecuing it, the smell of burned meat in the air, those are called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and those are carcinogenic as well. And it could have been the steroids and the hormones and the chemicals and the pesticides, and no one was exactly sure. But recently, we think we figured it out. The reason why red meat causes cancer wasn't fully understood until now. Many people grew up eating pork and beef and dairy products and saying that it can be bad for the health, and some people saying it's not bad for the health. But in recent years, they've received advice to cut back on animal products, especially the red meat. Now, this was interesting. When I read this, I said, this is a new twist I wouldn't have thought of. According to a number of studies, consumption of red meat is linked to increased risk of cancer, arteriosclerosis, which is heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, even type 2 diabetes. But until now, researchers have not exactly understood why. Let me go back to the type 2 diabetes for a second. We couldn't figure out why, if you ate a lot of rice, let's say, it spiked your blood sugar, but why diabetes was so low in places like in Asian countries where they ate a lot of rice. Well, the problem is that when you eat meat, it stimulates more insulin production, and the insulin's job is to go into a cell, kind of open up the cell. It's like a key. Opens up the cell and allows sugar to get in. When you eat more meat or high-protein diet along with carbohydrates, what happens is it increases more insulin production and increases your risk of diabetes even more, because if you produce a lot of insulin, the cells can't take any more sugar. So they tell the insulin, stop trying to open me up and put the sugar in. And the insulin keeps saying, oh, come on, everybody's doing it. And the cells say, no, I'm not going to let you open up and allow me to take in any more sugar, because too much sugar can kill the cell. So you become insulin resistant. And so what we have now is eating a high-protein diet along with a lot of carbohydrates increases your risk even further. But I digress. We're talking about cancer today. Scientists at the University of California in San Diego believe mainly it has to do with a sugar found in the meat. Humans, as omnivores, which means we can eat a lot of different things. So humans as omnivores can tolerate eating meat and having been so for so many years, but not in the quantity that we're doing today. See, that's another thing, too. It's not just eating the meat. It's the amount of meat that we're eating today, and it's the type of meat, the steroids, hormones, chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, genetically modified foods. It's a different world even since 1980 till now. The meat and animal industry has changed dramatically. There's a unique sugar in meat. It's named NEU 5GC. It's found in most mammals, but it's not found in humans, and it triggers an autoimmune response which causes inflammation. So you follow all that so far? All right, might get a little complicated here. Mice were used for the study, and they found all the evidence linking to NEU 5GC to cancer was circumstantial or directly predicted from experimental setups. According to the scientists, this is the first time they mimicked the exact situation in humans through feeding non-human NEU 5GC and including an anti-NEU 5GC antibodies. What that means is this increased the spontaneous cancer in mice. So put in English, we found the problem. It's kind of cool. Sugar can be found in red meats like pork, beef, and livestock, cow's milk, and certain cheeses. Because the human body is not capable of producing this sugar naturally, when the sugar is absorbed into the tissues, it's perceived as a foreign invader and activates the immune system. It is suspected for a long time that the chronic inflammation caused by the immune system response plays a role in the development of cancer. Thus, Those who consume red meat on a regular basis are likely to suffer a stronger reaction than those who ingest red meat occasionally. So it seems pretty clear that those who limit their intake to red meats are assured to be a happy, healthier person and probably add several quality years to their life. And it's true. Because we know, study after study after study, when you eat meat, you increase the risk of a lot of diseases. So here's my rule on animal products. If you're going to eat animal products, I recommend you eat organic only or don't eat them. Because not only do we have to worry about this sugar that's found in meat, NEU5GC, but if it's not organic, chances are high it's loaded with steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, pesticides, herbicides, tranquilizers, genetically modified foods. The genetically modified foods, when they get into the body, can cause an immune reaction because it's a foreign protein that we as humans have never seen up till maybe 1980s, 1990s. So it's a different world. And also how you cook the meat is also important. Because again, if you grill it, heterocyclic amines, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, you're running a high risk. And a lot of commercial meats, if you buy prepackaged meat, might contain something called monosodium glutamate, or MSG. When MSG gets into the body, it's called an excitotoxin. Now, MSG isn't only found in processed meats. It has, 40 different names for monosodium glutamate. Autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, sometimes natural flavors can actually be a high glutamic content or monosodium glutamate. So if you have too much glutamate in your body, it goes into the brain, and it causes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to and can literally burn out your brain cells. Now, why would you want to purposely burn out your brain cells? Well, you do it every time you're eating these processed foods. Where do you find MSG? Everywhere. Soups, processed foods, anything that they use it as a flavor enhancer. Because what happens is, when I went to school, we were taught that you had sweet, sour, salty, and bitter taste buds on your tongue. That was it. Okay. But I remember thinking, well, what tastes like mushrooms then? What tastes like meat? Sweet, sour, salty, and bitter don't taste any of those, right? None of those would equate to a ham sandwich or a hamburger. Well, it turns out there's a new taste bud we discovered in a relatively recent past, and it's called an umami taste bud. Yes, that's a real word, umami. And umami gives you the savory flavor. And so Japanese found originally, that if you took seaweed and extracts from seaweed or the seaweed itself and put it with food, it would make the food taste better because certain things like glutamic acid would stimulate the umami taste buds and the food would taste better. It's a flavor enhancer. And so that worked real well. But then some scientist, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, I'm thinking in the 1920s or 30s, but don't quote me on that, came up with a way to make a synthetic version of this umami enhancer. And it turns out to be monosodium glutamate. It's not the mono or the sodium that's bad, it's the glutamate. Now, we need glutamic acid in our body. Glutamic acid gets the brain firing, and it's good for us, and it's wonderful in small amounts. The problem is, like with many supplements, or amino acid supplements especially, when you isolate it, it has an adverse effect. So if I'm taking an amino acid, a protein, let's say, soybeans or carrots or steak, I have multiple amino acids in there, and a little bit of each of the amino acids get absorbed into my body. When you isolate the amino acid, glutamic acid in this point, and you give the body a large dose of isolated glutamic acid, it goes into the brain, and the brain fires faster than it's supposed to and can literally burn out your brain cells. And so that's why many people get headaches after eating Chinese food, because if it was really just seaweed stimulating the umami reaction, no big deal. But when you isolate the glutamic acid, that's when you start to have problems. And excitotoxins, glutamic acid, aspartic acid found in aspartame, they can literally burn out your brain cells. So if you're putting this aspartic acid or glutamic acid into your brain, you're causing some real serious damage. And so you got to be careful with this, because if you eat something and get a headache, I talked about this a while ago, if you're doing something that's causing an adverse reaction, stop doing it. It's pretty simple. It goes for everything: relationships, food, jobs. Don't do them if they're not good. And so the glutamic acid can be causing a problem. And it's everywhere, so I want you to really look for if you don't know what to look for, let me back up here. So I'm going to say look for the ingredients, but you don't know what the ingredients would be. My first book is called Eating Right for the Health of It. And in that book, we have a whole chapter on monosodium glutamate. And there's over 40 different names. You get a copy of that book. It's on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Read the whole book, by the way, not just that little page or two. But you'll be amazed how we sneak monosodium glutamate into food. Because if we can stimulate the umami taste buds, you're going to like the food and eat more of it. And a lot of times you'll see this in snack foods, chips, crackers, dips. Because you eat it, you go, ooh, that tastes really good. It doesn't really taste that good. You're just exciting your taste buds and going, ooh, I want more excitement. We love excitement. We as humans, we're excitement little fiends. And so that works. Aspartame works the same way. Aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters makes aspartame, which is an artificial sweetener. Now, if you want to know how aspartame is made, it's interesting. You read the scientific explanation, and it goes into, it creates a redundant DNA production and blah, 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 of aspartame and phenylalanine and on and on and on and on. Basically what it is we take a genetically modified E. coli, the bacteria that can get into your body and like cause real problems. We do a genetic modification of it, and then we feed it, and basically what it excretes, its waste products, is a combination of aspartic acid and phenylalanine. And there you have aspartame. So it really, in the simplest sense of the word, it's E. coli poop is what artificial sweetener is, aspartame specifically. But the reason I go into all this is because as a chiropractor, I see people all day, every day with neurological issues, pinched nerves, headaches, numbness, muscle weakness, back pain, neck pain. And so I want to fix you physically. But I want you to understand that you have to take the responsibility to fix yourself chemically if your goal is to obtain and maintain good health. If it's not your goal, that's okay. I've had patients come to my office and say, Doc, I just want you to adjust my spine. I don't care about nutrition. I don't care about digestion. I got neck pain. I want you to adjust my spine. Those are rare. I mean, very few. Every year I have a few like that. Like, all right, I'll give you what you want. I don't argue with patients anymore. And inevitably, they come around and say, Doc, I'm still having some problems. And then I'll say, now, do you remember we talked a couple of weeks ago about you really probably want to cut off the artificial sweetener because that can cause headaches and the monosodium glutamate can cause headaches. And yeah, I guess you're right. And so then usually the second time around, sometimes the third time around, patients finally go, yeah, I guess I should do this if I'm going to get well. Because we ain't getting younger, folks. We're getting older. And as we get older, if the bones are out of alignment, they rub up against each other and they wear out. And the discs wear out. And as the discs wear out, we call that arthritis. So if you have arthritis in your neck, your back, your finger, your spine, anywhere, it's mechanical. Well, there's osteo and rheumatoid arthritis. Osteoarthritis is the bones are out of alignment, rubbing up against each other. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune reaction. Now, we just talked about this sugar that we find in meat called NEU5GC, which is a sugar that's found in certain animals but not found in humans. And when we eat this sugar, the sugar can get into the cells, and the immune system doesn't recognize this sugar. It recognizes it as a foreign object and attacks the cells, causing an inflammatory reaction, which can lead to all sorts of diseases, including, according to this research, cancer. So why, again, I asked the rhetorical question, why would you want to put something in your body that you know is going to cause you to get sick? Makes no sense. I don't understand it. So stop doing it. It's a simple answer right there. But again, as a chiropractor, my job is get your nervous system working. Our job also is get your digestive system working and nutrition. So we cover all of it in our offices. So if you have a healthcare problem, if it's neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, I want you to consider coming to see us. If you're in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. And you can set up a time to come see us, and we'll go over, we'll check your spine, we'll check your digestive system, and then we'll determine in a relatively short period of time if we think that we can accept you as a patient. We don't accept everybody. We only accept the people we think we can help. And so you can come to us, we'll see if we can help you, and then we'll put together a protocol for you. And the protocol will consist of getting the spine worked on, the digestive system worked on, your diet straightened out. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, don't be like most of my patients, not most. A lot of my patients say, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer so long? And my answer is, I don't know. If you want to come see us, drjoeesposito.com is the website. You can do it online. You can call us. We accept most major medical insurances, car accidents, sports injuries, workers' comp. We want to be your doctor. We want to get you well. That's for you, your family, your friends, and your kids. Because if kids have straight spines, they grow straight. If they have crooked spines, they grow crooked. It's just that simple. And I love treating children. I think it's so wonderful. And I think that should be part of a national health care system. When kids get their spines checked, kids get their diet straightened out, kids get their stomach working properly, we're going to save a ton of money when we get people well. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com or just Google Dr. Joe. We'll get you set up as soon as possible. We usually have appointments within 24, 48 hours. We can get you in right away. So we're talking today about a lot of different things. We talked about electromagnetic frequency. We talked about why meat may be causing cancer, a sugar that we found in meat that the body isn't used, that we as humans have never seen before. So the immune system kicks in and can attack it. Talked about cell phones. But what else can we do to get well? It seems like an awful lot of stuff, Dr. Joe. It's not. It's actually pretty easy. And another thing I want you to consider is, this is going to sound weird, but I want you to wash your clothes before you wear them, new clothes especially. Lots of folks are going to be buying clothes all day, every day. The seasons change. Oh, it's time for summer clothes, spring clothes, winter clothes, whatever it is. You buy new clothes. You can try them on, but I don't want you wearing them until you wash them. Most of us go to the department stores or online. We purchase and we wear once we get them. Most of us skip that critical step of washing their clothes. Now, they're brand new. The brand new clothes contain toxic chemicals such as synthetic dyes, formaldehyde, resins, and these can lead to allergic reactions. If you don't wash them at least twice before using them, according to a Wall Street Journal study, it was called "Do You Need to Wash Your Clothes Before Wearing Them?" You can be having some big issues. So once again, in our offices, we want to get you well. And sometimes we got to dig a little deeper than the basic, I've got a pinched nerve, I've got a digestive issue, I've got to get on, better diet, I got to start taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, because those are the absolute minimum supplements you should be taking every day. Patients come in. In fact, one of my doctors came in the other day, and she said, "Dr. Joe, look at this. This is a picture of my sister," and all swollen. Eye was swollen, face was swollen. And so we said, "All right, we got to do something about this." So I don't know what caused it. Looked like it could have been a spider bite, but she said there were no fang marks or anything. So I got her on some supplements called nettle, stinging nettle, and that helped bring down the swelling a little, but it wasn't going away. And my concern was this was getting pretty bad. So I said, "You need to get her to emergency room right away." She's still breathing and everything. It wasn't, life-threatening at this point. I said, but we need to find out why her immune system is going crazy and causing all this inflammation. And so what we did was we got her on there. She took some medication. It brought the swelling down. And then we had to build up her immune system because something was wrong. Her immune system just went crazy. So then we had to look at her diet. We had to look at her nervous system. Of course, as a chiropractor, we always look at the nervous system. And we put together a protocol to help build the immune system. And I have patients come to me all day, every day, and ask me those questions. And if they have reactions like this, whether it's cancer or arthritis or lupus, it's an autoimmune condition. And many times we have to get the body healthy again, not just beat the problem. Because this is a kicker to me. Go back to cancer for a second. People come in and say, "I beat cancer. I'm cancer-free." That's awesome. I think that's great. What are you doing to change your life so it doesn't come back? Oh, nothing. I'm cancer-free now. If the cancer happened once due to your lifestyle, it's probably going to happen again. So that's why it's so important, no matter what the disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, I don't care what it is. Once you get it under control, change your lifestyle so that you can fix the problem. If not, it's going to come back, and you'll say, "Well, I was cancer-free for 5 years, but now it's back. And I'm going to do the same thing I did last time to beat it again." No, you might. Maybe it's chemo, maybe it's surgery, maybe it's radiation. You can go cancer-free doing that. But until you make the changes, chances are it's going to come back again. So I digress here for a second. I want to talk about washing your clothes and why that can cause reactions because, again, we got to dig in to find out why you're having problems. You want to wash your clothes, and you may see reactions like itchy patches, swelling, inflammation, especially in areas where friction, like around the waist, the neck, the thighs, around the armpits, and the crotch. While those who are genuinely allergic may need to avoid the chemicals entirely. If you wash your clothes twice. Now, that being said, I want you to wash your clothes in a non-toxic clothes soap. because I personally had a bad reaction. I had a roommate named Kay years and years ago, and she was wonderful, and I'd wash my clothes, and then she would put them in a dryer for me and fold them for me, and I thought, this is great. What a wonderful gal Kay was. Whatever happened to her? And anyway, I started itching a lot. My armpits, my shirt, around my underwear area. Keep it clean here. And couldn't figure out why. And I never correlated it was when Kay became my roommate. So one day I went down and I took the clothes out of the dryer, and Kay was being so sweet and so wonderful, and she was using dryer sheets. Well, dryer sheets don't make your clothes soft. What they do is they create a layer of oil or film around your clothes that make it slippery so it feels soft. And I'll be darned. I said, listen, Kay, I appreciate you doing this, but could you not use the dryer sheets? Her response was, okay. And guess what? All the itching went away. So you may be having a reaction to something as simple as clothes soap, to new clothes. And if you wash your bed sheets in toxic chemicals, and you lay in bed and you put your head on the pillowcase. So always go for the natural, non-toxic, no fragrant soaps. They have the natural ones. And that's what I'd recommend along with washing your clothes. Because formaldehyde resins, which are used to prevent cotton polyester blends from wrinkling, and it also limits mildew, can cause allergic contact dermatitis and irritant contact dermatitis, which is just a skin rash. Levels of formaldehyde are touted as safe in the U.S., but countries like New Zealand advise washing your clothes as a means of precaution. New clothes labeled dry clean only should be thoroughly aired out before use. So if you can't wash them, air it out. Because the chemicals they use in dry cleaning have been linked to things like cancer. So if you have something dry cleaned, you have your suit dry cleaned, you have your whatever, your dress dry cleaned, take it out of the plastic, hang it up. I put it in my garage because I don't want to have it in my house, and let it air out for a couple of days. Because that can be causing some problems as well. Now, there's still no foolproof way to know what type of germs are living in new clothes, including clothes even made of 100% natural fibers. So, for example, lice and scabies can be transmitted trying on clothes in the store. Lice is more likely to stick to natural fibers than synthetics. So you're trying on clothes, and you say, I don't like it, and you hang it back up, and you have the cooties or the galloping crud or whatever it is. And then I come along and try on the clothes, and guess what? Those galloping crud little cooties want to crawl into my body. So it's not a good thing. Rule of thumb is wash your new clothes at least once before wearing. If not, do it twice. So as a chiropractor, I want to make sure you're getting the best results you possibly can. So we want to check the nervous system. We want to check the digestive system. We want to get you on the right products, supplements. Everybody should be taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. There's a couple of limitations in there, but most people do fine with it. And it's fruits and vegetables in a powder form, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, a complete multivitamin. The Super Greens are alkalizing to the system. They're omega-3 fatty acids. It's a great source of iodine. Most of us don't get enough iodine, and every cell in your body needs iodine. So I made it took me years to develop this, as quick and simple and easy, as cheap as possible. How can I get everything I need from a supplement standpoint in one place? Well, I created Super Greens and Essential Source. Now, I do a nutrition evaluation with all my patients because sometimes you need more than that. I take adrenal supplements, for example. As I'm getting older, I find my adrenal glands do really well when I supplement them. So you can get information on Super Greens and Essential Source on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. If you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, and you should, folks, you really should, because so many of you are suffering with health problems. In fact, 32 years of practice, I've never had somebody come in who didn't have health problems. Now you're thinking, well, they wouldn't come see you, Dr. Joe, if they didn't have health problems. Everybody's got something. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, digestive issues, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, headaches. Doesn't matter what the health problem is. There's 3 things you have to incorporate as a step 1, unless it's life-threatening, to get your body well. Normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, good nutrition. So if you're ready to get well, you want to make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Do it online. Call us. We accept most major medical insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. We want to be your doctor. If you want to get copies of my books, Eating Right for the Health of It and Prescription for Extreme Health, those are on my website as well. We have archived hundreds of hours of radio shows and lectures on my website, all free. We have live lectures that I record. If you're a visual learner, we have live lectures you can watch. We have articles that I've written. It's really a great source of information. In fact, I'll even send you a lecture that I did called So What Can I Eat? Because after you're thinking that all this stuff is bad, and go to the website in the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll see a link, and I can send you that as well. Folks, got to go right now. Make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com, Norcross, Marietta, and Duluth. We'll see you soon. Marietta 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 and Duluth. We'll see you soon.